Now, during Burma's half a century of military dictatorship, the country's Buddhist monks became one of the main pillars of non-violent protests against the junta. But within the past few years, as the country inches into democracy, Burmese Buddhism has witnessed the emergence of so-called radical Buddhists. Now, these are monks with an ultranationalist agenda who have no qualms in calling for violence against those who they accuse of threatening the national identity. Well, as the ongoing military operations push over 400,000 Muslim Rohingyas out of Burma, France 24's Clovis Casali takes a closer look in focus today at the ultranationalists.
These young monks are the new guard of radical Buddhism in Burma. Their school is linked to Mabata, an influential movement known for its ultra-nationalist stance and anti-Islam rhetoric. Banned by religious authorities, it remains powerful across the country and claims to have 10 million members. One of the teachers has spotted us.
I want to show you something about the war. Okay.
He's keen to justify the army's clearance operations against the Rohingya Muslim minority in Rakhine state. For that, he quotes a famous Frenchman, Napoleon.
You must remember this quote.
So the quote says, the world suffers a lot not because of the violence of bad people, but because of the silence of good people. The most important thing now is for the good people not to remain silent. France knows better than any other country the problems we're facing here. You too in France have many immigrants on your territory, especially from Muslim countries, and who are causing you many problems.
Mabata is not afraid of using violence if it means protecting Burma's Buddhism. They believe the Rohingya Muslims are illegal immigrants from Bangladesh with no right to be in the country, even though some have lived here for generations.
It's a new form of colonization. The Buddhist Rakhine people are becoming the minority in their own state. On average, each family has about 4 children, but the Rohingya Muslims have many wives and many more children. We have a saying that goes like this: if you corner a dog and start beating it, the dog will bite you.
Northern Rakhine is under lockdown with ongoing violence. We were sent these amateur images by Rohingya activists. They show entire villages reduced to ashes. The army says the Rohingya themselves set fire to their houses. Over 400,000 civilians from the persecuted Muslim minority fled the violence to find refuge in neighbouring Bangladesh. Most of the Burmese support the army that claims it's simply cracking down on terrorists. This man firmly believes troops are doing nothing wrong. Accused of encouraging hate speech against the Rohingya, he was chief editor of Mabata's newspaper until it was banned by authorities.
We would criticize objectively the Rohingya, the Bengali terrorists. We also spoke loud and clear about the weakness of our government and parliament. And I guess they probably didn't like that very much.
He wrote 3 letters to Aung San Suu Kyi and never got a reply. He has little respect for Burma's de facto leader. As we film his office and he's off camera, he reveals the strong ties between ultra-nationalists and the army. General Min Aung Hlaing, Burma's commander-in-chief, is accused by some in the international community of ordering ethnic cleansing against the Rohingya.
Many Rohingya, Bengali civilians, have attacked Burmese people in Rakhine state. And by doing this, they're providing support and taking part in terrorism. So I do not feel any sadness when I'm told that these terrorists are now being killed.
Rohingya is a taboo word. He and others use the term Bengalis. They call for them to leave the country in all of the rallies staged by a controversial figure, U Wiratu. His opponents call him the Buddhist Osama bin Laden. Religious authorities banned him from addressing crowds after his speeches were seen as inciting violence. But it didn't prevent him from gathering his supporters when the Rohingya crisis began. Just like the army, he called for a state of emergency in Rakhine. Here, crowds dislike international media and humanitarian workers. They are convinced foreigners and NGOs have a pro-Muslim bias that threatens the Buddhist nation. Uviraatu's ultra-nationalist and anti-Rohingya views are shared by many in the country, much to the despair of Jao Min. This Rohingya politician has in his office pictures of Aung San Suu Kyi's father, who was Burma's independence hero. Jao Min was once a close ally of the Nobel laureate, and he spent 7 years behind bars when the two dared to openly oppose the military junta. He's been struggling to sleep in recent weeks and carefully chooses his words when talking about the suffering of his Rohingya brothers. He doesn't understand Aung San Suu Kyi's attitude.
Why should he not know what's happening in a part of the country? I think she knows well. We don't see any better future unless there is some change in the policy of Myanmar government or international community came to rescue this Rohingya community.
Buddhist extremists are said to be taking part in the violence, helping security forces with the crackdown. Aung San Suu Kyi has refused to condemn the army that retains large powers in Burma. The de facto leader had promised to defend minorities. The Rohingya are bitterly disappointed in the lady who they once believed in.